Federal investigators arrested 41 people in a sex trafficking investigation at a Dallas strip club. They also seized cash during the raid at the Chicas Bonitas Cabaret.
Well, yeah, Chris, it was this strip here off Harry Hines where local, federal, and state officials arrested 41 people. It happened, like you said, at this strip club behind me, Chicas Bonitas. But what led officials here to begin with was suspected human trafficking. Now, according to ICE, this bust happened last Friday.
What if I told you that behind the flashing lights and music of a Dallas strip club, federal agents just uncovered one of the most disturbing human trafficking operations in Texas history? Would you believe that 41 criminals were operating a sex trafficking empire right under the noses of local authorities until ICE and HSI decided to bring the hammer down? Well, that's exactly what happened when federal law enforcement stormed Chicas Bonitas Cabaret and exposed a criminal network that turned vulnerable people into commodities for profit. Stay with me until the end to see how this federal raid dismantled an entire trafficking operation the shocking evidence agents discovered inside, and why this takedown sends a clear message that America will not tolerate human exploitation on our soil. Before I continue, be sure to hit that subscribe button as it fuels all the effort that goes behind these videos. Let's break it down. How federal agents infiltrated the network, and why this Dallas raid exposed the darkest secrets of human trafficking operations. Dallas, Texas just became the epicenter of one of the most significant human trafficking busts in recent federal law enforcement history. And it didn't happen in some remote warehouse or abandoned building. It happened at Chicas Bonitas Cabaret, a strip club operating in plain sight where 41 criminals thought they could turn human beings into profit without consequence. On September 26, 2025, Homeland Security Investigations Dallas, working with ICE and other federal, state, and local law enforcement partners, executed a precision operation that exposed what federal agents are calling a sophisticated sex trafficking enterprise. This wasn't small-time exploitation. This was organized crime that federal authorities had been tracking for months. The raid targeted Chicas Bonitas Cabaret in Dallas, a strip club located on Harry Hines Boulevard in the northwestern part of the city. Federal agents moved in simultaneously, ensuring no evidence could be destroyed and no criminals could escape. Their coordination demonstrated the seriousness of the threat this criminal network posed to the community. What makes this operation so significant isn't just the number of arrests or the victims rescued. It's what it reveals about how trafficking networks embed themselves in legitimate businesses and exploit vulnerabilities in our communities. This operation pulls back the curtain on a criminal enterprise that was hiding in plain sight. Human trafficking investigations don't happen overnight. Federal agents spent months gathering evidence, conducting surveillance, and mapping the criminal network operating out of Chicas Bonitas Cabaret. This meticulous approach allowed them to build a comprehensive case that would stand up in court. ICE didn't work alone. This operation required coordination between Homeland Security Investigations, Removal Operations Dallas Field Office, the Dallas Police Department, the Texas Department of Public Safety, the Texas Alcoholic Beverage Commission, the U.S. Marshal Service, and the Internal Revenue Service's Criminal Investigation Division. When federal agencies coordinate like this, it means the threat is serious and the criminal enterprise is sophisticated. The raid itself was law enforcement at its finest. Federal agents moved simultaneously to ensure no evidence was destroyed and no criminals escaped. 41 arrests don't happen by accident. This was months of investigative work culminating in a coordinated takedown. What agents found inside Chicas Bonitas Cabaret confirmed their worst fears. This wasn't just a strip club with some illegal activity on the side. Federal investigators uncovered evidence of systematic human trafficking, exploitation of vulnerable individuals, and a criminal network designed to profit from human misery. The evidence was substantial. Agents seized approximately $30,000 in U.S. currency, along with business records that documented the trafficking operation. These records will prove crucial in prosecuting those responsible and dismantling the entire criminal network. Sex trafficking operations require organization, recruitment, control mechanisms, and financial systems. Federal agents uncovered how this network identified vulnerable victims, brought them under control, and forced them into exploitation. Think about this for a moment. While families across Dallas were going about their daily lives, criminals were operating a business based entirely on human exploitation just miles away. The traffickers didn't see victims. They saw profit margins. Of the 41 individuals arrested, 29 were suspected of illegally working at the club. But these weren't just immigration violations. This was part of a systematic exploitation scheme where vulnerable individuals were trapped in a cycle of abuse and control. Among those arrested were several individuals with extensive criminal histories, demonstrating how trafficking networks often include violent offenders. These included Juan Carlos Salas Medina, a Mexican national who had illegally entered the United States 10 times and had convictions for aggravated assault of a family member, drug possession, and driving under the influence. Another arrestee, Julio Cesar Martinez, had 3 prior convictions for assault causing bodily injury. Other criminals arrested included Victor Manuel Manzano Ramirez, who had illegally entered the U.S. twice and had a DUI conviction, Gustavo Rojas Garda, another individual with a DUI conviction, and Genaro Diaz Perez, who had prior convictions for prostitution-related offenses. These weren't simply undocumented workers, they were part of a criminal network with a history of violence and exploitation. ICE's primary mission wasn't just arrests, it was victim identification and rescue. Human trafficking victims often can't or won't identify themselves due to trauma, fear, or control mechanisms traffickers use. Federal agents are specially trained to recognize signs of trafficking and provide immediate assistance to survivors. The 41 arrests tell us this network was extensive. In sex trafficking operations, criminals fill different roles: recruiters, transporters, controllers, financial operators, and facility managers. Each arrest represents someone who chose to profit from human suffering. Here's why this case required federal intervention. Human trafficking often crosses state lines, involves international elements, and requires resources that local law enforcement may not have. HSI has specialized training, federal authorities, and coordination capabilities specifically designed for these complex investigations. Federal law enforcement operates under the Trafficking Victims Protection Act, which gives agencies like HSI the tools they need to prosecute traffickers and protect survivors. This isn't just about arresting criminals, it's about ensuring victims receive the support and legal protections they deserve. ICE uses sophisticated investigative techniques for trafficking cases, financial analysis to track money flows, digital forensics to uncover communications, surveillance operations to map criminal networks, and victim-centered approaches that prioritize survivor safety and testimony. The 41 arrests at Chicas Bonitas Cabaret represent the beginning